Hey guys, Bart from TST Industries here. Today in the studio we have a 09 to 14 Yamaha R1 and we will be demonstrating the installation of the TST Industries Fender Eliminator on this particular bike. This part can be purchased as a standalone unit or through our Buy Together module. You can couple this up at a discount with our Undertail Fender Closeout. This is what the part looks like with the Fender Closeout. It is a nice addition. It's a CNC machine aluminum part, black anodized, and it makes the installation look really complete and cosmetically sound. Now, if you guys are looking for a more upscale solution to Fender elimination, we also have our Elite 1 adjustable Fender Eliminator. It offers a couple different hinge points for adjustability of your license plate hanging angle and position, and it also enables you to mount the license plate in a choice of 2 different spots. For this product, you can check out our video on our YouTube page or through its product page on our website. And for now, I will just focus on installing this unit as well as the Fender Closeout. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so in the first step, we will remove the passenger seat and we'll put that to the side. We'll take a brief moment to talk about the fender removal. As you can see, this bike has already had the fender removed, and if you're interested in the steps necessary to remove your fender, we'll have that in an appendix chunk at the end of this video. You can just skip to the timestamp that you can see below here, and you will see those instructions. So for the purpose of this video, we will start from where the fender's already been removed. On this particular motorcycle, after the fender removal, there's this part, I call it the 4-hole washer. This part is left behind and you can choose to remove it, but for the purpose of the installation of our Fender Eliminator, this is supposed to stay in place and we'll bolt right through it. For some reason, during your fender removal, you got rid of this part, you can just use 2 washers in its place that will fit over the M6 screws supplied in our kit. So let's jump down to the bottom of the bike and perform the install. All right, so now we will grab the Fender Eliminator bracket along with half of the hardware from the kit. We'll grab the screw and a washer, get the washer inserted over the screw, get the screw through your bracket, and the proper mounting holes for this bracket are right here. And 2 side-by-side holes left behind by the fender. I will get that through. Get my 4mm Allen wrench in the screw and get the nut turned on. And then when I turn this in, I'm going to tighten it. I'll leave myself a little bit of adjustability so I can get the other screw in and then adjust where I want this bracket to end up. I will repeat the procedure on the other side of the bracket. I think you guys can see why leaving a little bit of adjustability is important here. This bracket keeps moving. We built in slots rather than holes for the mounting features here so that you can customize how far back or forward this thing sits by about ½ an inch. So now just going to position it where I like it best. And start tightening down. Now up top, I'm using a long socket that's 10mm in size, and down bottom, I'm using a 4mm Allen. At this point, I'm happy with my placement, so I'm just going to tighten it all the way. All right, so that part is done. If this is the only part that you're installing on your bike, then at this point you would mount your license plate and you'd be good to go. Now, when you eliminate your fender, you're typically eliminating your signal lights. Some sort of provisions for signaling should be made. This particular bike has an integrated taillight that we sell. Some other customers have chosen to do pod signals. We also have a kit. You can check that out on our website. So for this installation, we're just going to proceed to showing you guys how to use this part in conjunction with our fender closeout. So I will strip this down and show you how to install it with the closeout. All right, so if you're going to install the setup along with our fender closeout, and we'll show you how to do that now. The closeout comes with its own hardware. I'll empty out that bag to show you guys what that's for. The longer screws are meant to fasten the closeout to the undertail. So obviously, since we're using the screws from this kit, that will not be used. And 2 of these M5 nuts will also not be used. Now, the last screw and the nut is basically used to blind out this hole in the event that you're not running any wires from the outside to the inside of your trunk. If you are using pod signals or a license plate light, this would be left open and you would run your wiring through there. So for the purpose of this video, we're gonna blind this hole out. Won't be showing you how to install those other auxiliary components because we have separate videos showing that. For this particular fastener set, I'm going to be using a 3mm Allen from the outside, along with an 8mm box wrench. You can use an open-ended or a socket that you got laying around. It's probably going to work well for you. All right, so now this is ready to be superimposed on here, just like this. You can see here we have slots in this area for fine tuning. So once you get this on the bike, you can fine tune it just a little bit, more so towards the rear than towards the front of the bike. So now I'm going to use the hardware. It came with the Fender Eliminator. Again, you have the washer and the 35mm screw. I'm going to insert that through this assembly just like that. Get that inserted into the bike. And now I'm going to have to align the screw to penetrate through that 4-hole washer and get my 10mm nut over this screw that I have through the undertail. Get that in by hand. And now I'm going to use my 4mm Allen to turn it in some more, along with a 10mm socket from the top. Alright, so now I want to make an important note before we get too far with turning this screw in. We have to recognize that there is a nut on the other side of this assembly that will prevent us from rotating this assembly if this screw is too tight. So going a little bit at a time and trying to align it here. At some point it'll lock it in place for me and stop it from turning around, and I'll have everything fitted nicely. I'm really close now. And unfortunately, I don't have a helping hand. If you have a friend sitting around doing nothing, have them help you. Hold it in place like this, in position. Will make this installation vastly easier. There you go. It is doable by yourself, but it's vastly faster and easier if you have a helping hand. So now I'll still preserve some adjustability here. I don't want to lock it down just yet. Alright, now it's sort of in place. We'll just repeat the same procedure in the other hole. It'll be a little bit easier because it's already lined up. Get the top 4-hole washer, get over that screw. I'm just gonna align everything to my liking and lock down all my fasteners. All right, at this point we can install the license plate on this setup, and that'll pretty much be the last step for this installation. If you're installing a license plate light on this system, you'll be able to access the instructions in a separate video we have for that particular part. Otherwise, this is pretty much going to be good to go. All right, one step left to do is to replace the passenger seat, and this installation is complete. It was pretty easy. Hope you guys agree. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, please place them below in the comment field. Other than that, we'll see you next time. Take care. I'll go ahead and unlock the passenger seat and remove it off the bike, put it to the side. At this point, I will disconnect the lighting equipment plugs. There's one gray one black one, and 2 bullet connector plugs in there that need to be disconnected. So I will do that. The easiest way to do that is to use a small screwdriver and pry up on the locking tab and withdraw the plug. I will do that to both of the signal plugs, the black and the gray one. I will undo these from the routing clip here in the sub tray. That will give me more room to work with the remaining 2 wires that need to be disconnected. I can unclip them from the clip as well, just to get them loose and get them closer to the top. And I will just pull these apart one by one. They're just bullet connectors. Males come out of the females here. And now we'll be ready to remove the bolts and drop the fender off the bike. So at this point, we will start removing the bolts that hold the fender assembly on. Once I get the 2 front screws done, I will start unscrewing the rear screw, and I will support the fender assembly with my hand from the bottom so that it doesn't just drop. All right, so now the fender is free to come out. Just have to make sure to route the wires so that the plugs don't get ripped off. We'll feed the plugs one at a time through the hole. And put the fender to the side. In this step, we will remove the OEM fender bolts. And one thing I want to note is that this washer, this stamped 3-hole, 4-hole washer, gets saved and reused in this location for our Fender Eliminator assembly. So we'll also need to remove the license plate from the stock setup. What we'll do here is we will reuse the hardware that currently holds the license plate onto the fender. We'll reuse that on the TST setup